All right, let's jump right in. We're about to unpack a pretty wild model of consciousness that connects the vastness of the universe directly to, well, your emotions. And it all kicks off with a simple but truly mind-bending fact about, well, everything.
So look at this number. It turns out that 99.999999% of the universe that we can observe is made of light. And we're not just talking about the light you can see with your eyes. No, this is the whole electromagnetic spectrum. Gamma rays, X-rays, radio waves, the whole shebang. Fundamentally, the universe is just this giant, incredible ocean of light.
So what does that have to do with you and me? Honestly, everything. Because if the universe is made of light and we are products of this universe, then it kind of follows, right? We are, in a very real, very physical sense, made of that exact same light. Let's break that down for a second. You can take your body and deconstruct it, right? You go from your whole body to your organ systems, down to tissues and cells, then molecules, then atoms, and what's at the very bottom? According to this model, what you find are particles that are basically materialized forms of light. The core idea is that your body is essentially frozen light. Okay, so if we're all fundamentally light, this state of oneness, how in the world do we experience things like pleasure and pain? You and me, this cup and that table. How does separation happen? Well, according to this model, it all happens in a single moment, when that original oneness splits in two.
First, you've got what's called the unconditional state. Think of it as pure spirit, or a single particle of light, a photon. In this state, there's no time, no space, no mass, no charge. It's a pure oneness that our senses can't even measure. It's outside of all that. It just is.
But then, that photon can split into two complementary particles, like a positron and an electron. And boom, that's the conditional state, what we call matter. And in that split, our entire reality is born. All of a sudden, we have time, space, mass, and charge. We have a world that our senses can actually perceive and measure. So you see the journey there? We go from the unconditional, immeasurable world of spirit to the conditional, measurable world of matter. The one becomes two, and our entire experience of reality is born right out of that fundamental split. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Here's the catch. Our senses, the very tools we use to navigate the world, can only perceive one side of that duality at any given time. This means that our sensory reality is, by its very definition, an illusion. It's only ever showing us half of the complete picture. And this brings us to such a powerful reframing of the word ignorance. It's not about a lack of intelligence, not at all. It's simply the act of ignoring one half of reality. It's choosing to see the world through a lens that can only ever capture part of what's truly there. You know exactly how this feels. Think about a relationship. You get infatuated with someone, and you can only see their amazing qualities. That powerful feeling of attraction literally makes you blind to the other side of the coin. You know, the inevitable challenges, the little annoyances, the downsides that exist in every single person. And we do the exact same thing with our emotions, don't we? We desperately chase after happiness and pleasure, and we do everything we can to run from, suppress, or just disown sadness and pain. We treat them like they're two totally separate things, when in reality, they're just two sides of a single, whole experience. And here's the real kicker. Anything that you have a lopsided, incomplete perception about, it runs your life. It occupies space in your mind. It takes up your time. You are basically in bondage to anything you haven't yet seen in its complete, balanced form. Okay, so if the problem is this lopsided view, what's the solution? Is it just to think positive? Well, not exactly. The real path to wisdom, according to this, is about finding equilibrium. It's about learning to embrace both sides of every single experience. Let's try an analogy. Imagine your self-worth is a big stack of coins, and each coin is a life experience. Now, what if you decided you only wanted to collect the heads? You know, the compliments, the wins, the happy moments, and every time you got a coin with a tail side, you just threw it away. You'd never build any wealth, would you? You'd end up with nothing. But that's what so many of us do. We try to grab one side of life and push the other away. Real worth, real wisdom comes from taking the whole coin every single time. It's about embracing both sides of yourself and your life, the praise and the criticism, the joy and the sorrow. This is exactly why the whole idea of positive thinking can actually be a trap. It's a shallow version of life. Come on, if you're feeling manic and infatuated, you don't need more positivity. You need a dose of reality to bring you back to center.
And if you're feeling down, yeah, you need a lift. The goal isn't just positivity, it's balance. And you know, this idea of equilibrium is ancient. Thinkers like St. Augustine were talking about this centuries ago. The interpretation here is that equilibrium is a universal law, maybe even the will of God. It's when we fight that natural balance, when we disequilibrate our existence by only seeing one side, that's when we create the turbulent push and pull of human emotions.
So, what's the payoff for all this? What happens when you finally find this mental balance? Well, when you achieve that state of equilibrium, 4 incredibly powerful states of being just show up. They emerge on their own, and they form the pillars of what you might call self-mastery.
First, you have what's called the Great Discovery. And it's this: you will never experience one side of an event without the other side existing at the exact same time. So in a moment of criticism, support is also there. In a moment of praise, a balancing challenge is also there. We just train ourselves to see one and ignore the other.
And when you truly get that, these 4 pillars just rise up. First, gratitude, not just for the good stuff, but for the perfect hidden order in everything. Then love, not as a fleeting emotion, but as this profound appreciation for the synthesis of all opposites. You get certainty, a deep knowing that comes from finally seeing the whole picture. And you achieve presence, a state of being right here, right now, free from the drama. Which brings us to one last thought to leave you with. If every single moment contains both sides, if every challenge has a hidden support and every victory a hidden humility, then that means your entire life has actually been an experience of complete, balanced love. The only question is, have you been noticing all of it?